They may be the absolute worst secret Starfleet has ever kept, but Section 31, since their arrival, have been interesting. Now, they've had several different forms, and they've had several different levels of secrecy, but let's find out what we didn't know before. With that in mind, I'm Sean Ferrick for TrekCulture, and here are 10 things you didn't know about Section 31. Number 10. Their name came from the Starfleet Charter. As revealed in Star Trek Enterprise, Section 31 began in the 22nd century. It took its name from Article 14, Section 31 of the Starfleet Charter, which authorized extreme measures during periods of extraordinary threat. The terms extreme measures and extraordinary threat seemingly meant whatever Section 31 needed them to mean to justify their operations. For example, in 2154, Section 31 let Klingon operatives kidnap a Starfleet doctor to work on a cure for the Klingon augment virus in exchange for a mutually advantageous alliance with the Klingons. In the 23rd century, Section 31 used the perceived threat of a temporal arms race to justify stealing a time crystal from the Klingons and deceiving the Vulcans about the time travel research undertaken by Federation scientists at a joint human-Vulcan research facility on the Vulcan colony Doctari Alpha. In the 24th century, Section 31 used the Dominion War to justify ruining a Romulan ally's career, experimenting on changeling POWs, creating a biological weapon, planning a genocide, and using Odo as a carrier for a disease. In the Kelvin timeline, Admiral Marcus used the threat of a Klingon war to justify using Khan Noonien Singh to build weapons. Number 9. Not so secret society? The thing about clandestine organizations is that they are at their most effective when very few people know about them. For most of its existence, Section 31 operated from the shadows, its operatives willingly carrying out actions that would turn the average Federation citizen's stomach. If the average Federation citizen ever heard about Section 31, it was a rumoured branch of Starfleet intelligence. That's how Section 31 operatives liked it. What Section 31 operatives probably didn't like was for fresh ensigns from the lower decks of a second-string class of starships to openly mock them. However, by the 2380s, the once-secret agency was so widely known that Starfleet ensigns could openly joke about their agents' behaviour, such as their operatives' alleged habit of conserving energy by speedwalking. An activity associated with gentle fitness hardly fits with the slightly sinister, hyper-competent image operatives such as Luther Sloan liked to project. Not everyone in the late 24th century mocked Section 31. In 2401, Worf praised them as an essential section of Starfleet intelligence. Number 8. DAYSTROM Station. DAYSTROM Station was a remote space station named for Federation scientist Richard Daystrom and operated as a Section 31 black site. They used it to store secret information, experimental weapons, surveillance equipment, weird science, dead bodies, and other odds and ends. The station was patrolled by Starfleet security every hour and used transport inhibitors to prevent illegal entry. If an intruder got around them, it was guarded by the highly adaptive android M510, which could create custom responses using holographic projectors. M510 was a golem, a type of organic android created by Altan Soong as a synthesis of the memories and personalities of Soong-type androids, including data and lore. During the Dominion War, Daystrom Station was home to Project Proteus, an attempt to turn changeling POWs into undercover agents who would perfectly mimic humanoids with simulated blood and organs. Altan Soong also used it to research the death of Picard's original body. Behind the scenes, Star Trek effects artist Doug Drexler built Daystrom Station's initial CGI model with features resembling elements from Jupiter Station, the Midas Array, the Epsilon 9 station, and the Y-class cargo modules. Once his model was approved, it was sent to the VFX department for further refinement. Number 7. Questionable recruitment techniques. Section 31 isn't going to have a booth at your school's local job fair. Their questionable recruitment methods include kidnapping, faking people's deaths, and traumatizing loyalty tests. However, sometimes they just asked. For example, Malcolm Reed was recruited by Section 31 shortly after graduating from Starfleet Academy. He enjoyed clandestine missions but left the organisation just before his assignment to the Enterprise. He later discovered leaving Section 31 didn't mean they left him. After the Klingon Federation War, a Section 31 operative piqued Mirror Universe Georgiou's interest and casually left her a badge. She was the former Terran Emperor looking for a new sinister purpose for her life, so she accepted the new job. In 2374, Section 31 operative Luther Sloan took interest in Dr. Julian Bashir, kidnapped him, and put him through a soul-crushing loyalty test before asking him to become an operative. Although the idealistic doctor initially rejected Sloan, He later aided him on a mission. He soon learned that their missions were detrimental to one's moral sense. In 2381, Section 31 faked the death of William Boimler, Brad Boimler's transporter duplicate. Although William briefly questioned Section 31's melodramatic tactics, he joined when his life was threatened. He then laughed maniacally. Number 6. Not always a rogue one. During the 22nd and 23rd centuries, Section 31 worked closely with Starfleet. It was seen as a slightly shady but accepted department of Starfleet intelligence. For example, they assisted the Enterprise with intelligence on the human terrorist organization Terra Prime when Terra Prime threatened to disrupt the founding of the Coalition of Planets, the precursor to the United Federation of Planets. In the 23rd century, Section 31 was still overseen by Starfleet. Section 31 operatives travelled on Starfleet vessels and openly wore black versions of the Starfleet insignia that functioned as comm badges. Starfleet admirals regularly uploaded reports to Control, Section 31's threat assessment computer. By the 24th century, Starfleet officers saw Section 31 as merely a rumour or maybe an urban legend. Starfleet officers who actually encountered Section 31, such as Julian Bashir, reacted with revulsion. Their idealistic minds couldn't conceive of the existence of an organisation comparable to the Romulan Tal Shiar or Cardassian Obsidian Order being part of the Utopian Federation. Yet, as Constable Odo noted, while the Federation officially abhorred Section 31's tactics, they looked the other way when they needed the agency to do their dirty work. Number 5. Bureau 13 and Psi Corps. Babylon 5, the rival space station-based show created by J. Michael Straczynski, featured a clandestine organisation similar to Section 31, Bureau 13. Bureau 13 was a division of the Psi Corps, the government agency responsible for recruiting, training and regulating telepaths. While Section 31 claimed they acted in the best interest of the Federation, Bureau 13 existed to help the Psi Corps gain greater influence over Earth's government. Like Section 31, it was involved in covert activities such as illegal research, assassinations, and brainwashing. Like all telepaths, future Bureau 13 operatives were recruited by Psi Corps when their abilities first manifested and indoctrinated to see the Corps as surrogate parents. Anyone who tried leaving the Corps were hunted by Psi Corps security force, the Psi Cops, and brought to heel by the Bloodhound units. Section 31 was described variably as a division of Starfleet intelligence and outside Federation control. Operatives were seemingly recruited from every Starfleet division, including science and medical. Sometimes they were ruthless civilians, such as Mirror Universe George O. Their compartmentalized lives let them plan genocide in the morning and enjoy family in the evening. Operatives who tried leaving discovered that there was always one more mission. Number 4. They're everywhere. Star Trek Enterprise co-creator and executive producer Rick Berman originally didn't think that Section 31 would appear on the series, saying, in a case of famous last words, "I doubt we'll see them on Enterprise." However, the 4th season episode Affliction revealed that as an ensign, Malcolm Reed was recruited into a covert organisation by a Starfleet security officer named Harris. This organisation was never explicitly called Section 31, although production staff later confirmed that the clandestine organisation in Enterprise and Section 31 were one of the same. On screen, various clues hint at the organization's true identity. Harris wears a black, fascist-looking uniform similar to the one worn by Luther Sloan and other Section 31 operatives on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Harris also refers to Article 14, Section 31 of the Starfleet Charter. This alludes to Luther Sloan's contention on Deep Space Nine that Section 31 was created by the original Starfleet Charter. However, this episode conflicts with Dr. Bashir's assertion that Section 31 had remained hidden for 300 years. As Ronald D. Moore clarified, this was a mistake, and Bashir should have said around 200 years. It seems even genetically engineered genius doctors can make mistakes. Number 3. A Tale of Two Renes. During the Dominion War, Section 31 developed the morphogenic virus, a wasting disease that attacked a changeling's morphogenic matrix, the structure that gave them their shape-shifting abilities. The disease progressed as individual changelings changed form. The more rapidly they changed shape, the faster the disease progressed. This side effect had Section 31's desired effect of hampering the changeling's infiltration efforts. Section 31 had infected Odo during a medical exam when he and Sisko were on Earth. Odo spread the disease when he linked with other changelings. Although originally intended as a carrier similar to Typhoid Mary, Odo eventually developed the disease. Writer Rene Echevarria revealed that Section 31 infected Odo in the episode When It Rains. He felt that the revelation that Section 31 was responsible for creating the virus didn't raise the dramatic stakes enough. They're a clandestine intelligence agency. Creating biological weapons is just what they do. This reveal gave the writers a way to end the Dominion War. In the episode Extreme Measures, Bashir and Miles O'Brien extracted the cure from Luther Sloan. In What You Leave Behind, the female changeling ordered her forces to surrender after she received the cure from Odo. Number 2. Ira Steven Behr created the idea. When he created Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry thought of the Federation as a utopia where violence, prejudice, poverty, crime, and other social ills had been overcome. His Starfleet was a combination of NASA and the Coast Guard rather than a military force. While their starships were armed, they never struck the first blow but only acted in defense of Federation ideals. Star Trek Deep Space Nine executive producer and writer Ira Steven Behr was inspired to add Section 31 to Star Trek lore by a line in the Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode The Maquis Part 2, "It's easy to be a saint in paradise," which made him wonder why the Federation was a paradise. Behr reasoned that some organizations similar to the CIA and other intelligence agencies around the world kept it that way by doing the things respectable people didn't want to know about. Behr and his fellow writers, including Ronald D. Moore, held lengthy discussions about Section 31 and its history. Once the details were worked out, Section 31 and its nefarious operatives, Luther Sloan, debuted in the episode Inquisition, the first in an arc about Dr. Julian Bashir's involvement with the clandestine organization. Number 1. Undermining Utopia. Star Trek Deep Space Nine was the first Star Trek series produced after Gene Roddenberry's death, with characters including a commanding officer who resented Jean-Luc Picard, a former resistance fighter who resented Starfleet as first officer, and a greedy Ferengi bartender. It was clear from the very first episode that Deep Space Nine would have a darker take on Roddenberry's utopian Federation. In a series that regularly dealt with genocide, crime, authoritarianism, and PTSD, Section 31 was one of the most controversial elements of the show. According to Deep Space Nine writer David Weddle, some Star Trek fans were appalled by the addition of Section 31. They saw it as a betrayal of Roddenberry's vision and morals. Other fans shared Ira Steven Behr's view that the Federation was a paradise because Section 31 was able to do the morally questionable deeds that other Starfleet officers couldn't or wouldn't do. The two sides regularly had what Weddle characterized as a long, ethical and political argument about Section 31. In the magazine Cinefantastique, Ronald D. Moore offered the opinion that while the inclusion of Section 31 was provocative, it didn't question on a fundamental level the principled Federation we have known. That's everything for our list today, folks. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the original writer of this article, Frank Chavez. You can go and find this on whatculture.com. And thank you so much to our wonderful editor, Martin. You are awesome and wonderful. You can find us on Twitter at TrekCulture. You can find us on Instagram at TrekCultureYT. And of course, don't forget to check out our podcast, which drops every single Tuesday here on TrekCulture. You can get it on the podcast catcher of your choice. Until I see you again, my folks, look after yourself. You are wonderful. Make sure that you live long and prosper. And try not to announce it if you're part of a secret society. Thanks.